You sit down and join the game. It's a cheap buy-in, and not many of the other players are very good. The lady fiddling with dice gets good cards, but has no real strategy. The man to your right seems to just hold on to the highest cards he has, regardless of suit or any consideration of matches. The man in gray across from you, though, he's good. He already had the largest pile of coins when you bought in, and while your winnings grow quickly, you can't quite catch him. One by one, the other players leave the table, sometimes with pique or with wry humor, leaving their winnings with you or the man in gray. Finally, it's just you and the man in gray. He looks at you, full of humor, and winks. Last hand? He deals, you draw, and look at your hand. It's good. It's great. The best hand, in fact. A royal straight flush. Spades. Aces high. But the man in gray pushes forward his whole pile. You're not sure exactly how much it is, but it's more than you've got. You can't match that. The man in gray stops you. Now, if you like, I'll let you wager your word. I know you'll be good for it. Just promise you'll pay the debt, however I ask. Yep, 10, jack, queen, king, ace. All spades. The man in gray smiles. All right, then. I'll call.
Well, your luck wasn't so good, was it? That's quite the hand, but not for the game we're playing. I'm afraid you owe me. Your life, sure, but more than that, your labor. You see, this land is built on stories. It's one big story, this country, woven of many small ones. Few of the small ones are strictly true, and the big story is mostly a lie. All the stories and songs and myths and legends start somewhere, with a seed. As they're told and retold and passed around, they grow and change to become the stories we know. To pay your debt to me, you'll be carrying stories, finding the seeds first and then spreading them, telling them onwards so they can begin gaining strength. This is no light task. Stories are heavy. Most of the stories you'll find will be small seeds. They might be true, but they'll grow wild and unbelievable with the telling. The more important stories are the true ones, the ones people will tell you about their own lives. Those often get lost in the weaves of the big story. The more true stories you can find and tell, the more you can weave that truth into the big story. Tarnish it a bit perhaps, but isn't a dingy and battered truth better than a shining lie? Now, go ahead. You tell me a story. I'll trade you some information about your task. You'll sometimes have to make choices about what kind of story you're finding. Is it a love story or a tragedy? Don't gather too many of one kind, though. This grand story needs variety. Your deepest desires, your greatest wish, heaven? Big Rock Candy Mountain, El Dorado, the Promised Land, that place just over the ridge where they all say that the water tastes just like the sweetest wine. Well, I don't know where that is. It's supposed to be somewhere in this country. Ask the people you meet. They're all searching for the same thing. Travel? That's your job. Wander from place to place, gather those stories and spread them. People get bored hearing the same stories over and over, but an old cliché in one state might be a rip-roaring new yarn in another. It's just luck. Funny how bad luck seems to follow the folks who already have problems aplenty. Well, try your luck out there in this country. See how the dice treat you. It's not all bad. You'll have to work hard, but I'll give you the gift for seeing the true shapes of people. Not many who can do that. I'll strip away your flesh to make the journey easier, but still you will feel pain. Hunger, weariness, thirst, and despair. They're all part of stories, the part not often told. And death, yes, but don't worry. As long as your task remains, you come back. Go on your way, seeker. Maybe we'll meet again, or maybe not. Either way, it'll be an experience for you. I'm jealous in some ways. I hope you find what you're looking for.
This bungalow is being ransacked. There's furniture piled in the front yard, ammunition heaped under the mailbox, and a crowd of clean-cut men ripping apart a car in the driveway. The two heavily armed, mud-caked women leaning over the porch railing share the same bored grin. One shouts at you. "Lend a couple innocent gals a cigarette?" You are about to hand her a smoke when those men draw pistols and shove you hard into the dirt. You know these girls? Once they've dumped your bag out into the road, they decide you're harmless. "If you were selling booze too, you'd have a lot more cash," sneers one. On the porch behind him, the two bootleggers are fingering their empty rifles, grinning in disappointment.
Well, I got no companion except this land.
Off the road and into the woods, you can't help but come across this package by the old tree tied to a sturdy stick. The cloth wrapping conceals, though not particularly well, something large and softly unsettled. Little eyes blink back at you from inside the bundle. The shape gives a start.
Please don't tell my pa that I'm in here.
It says in a small voice.
Pa doesn't want to live with us anymore, but I want to go with him. Don't tell him, please. I'm hiding.
You tell the boy you'll keep his secret. You don't see his father anywhere. You don't see another soul for miles. Outside the small thicket of apple trees, the phrase "tended to by John Chapman" is carved into a fence post. Nearby, a hound lies on its side, perfectly still. Flies buzz around its ears. But a grizzled man pauses at his digging to shoo them off. There's an extra shovel. With it, the two of you make short work of the grave. He tells you about his beliefs, why he's raising apple orchards in the middle of the country. It's a sin to graft, he tells you. Hurts the tree. He stoops to the ground and lowers the pup into the earth. Tears flow freely. I'll see him again in heaven, he tells you. Our souls are bound by love. He wipes his eyes. I don't think I can bear to stay here, though. Maybe I'll set out again. As you walk along the river near an unfinished bridge, men with a tool belt catch a sight of you. Hey, over there, he calls out. You look like you could use a quick way to get some hard-earned money. Hard-earned is right. The bridge hangs high over a perilous drop. He laughs uproariously. Absolutely not. High above the water, you see raptors with enormous wingspans wheeling through the sky. We'll have little more protection than them, the man says, but not much more. His eyes sparkle. He clearly loves this work. Great, he exclaims. Suppose you'll want a safety belt. We Thunderbird people don't need them. We fly when we fall." He chuckles. You find yourself up high, looking over the rushing river that crashes around the foundation of the bridge. As you work side by side, the man mentions, "You can see thunderbirds up here if you know how to look." You ask him to explain. "Practice your peripheral vision, if you dare. Last thing you need up here is for them to see you seeing them and come swooping at you," he says laughingly. You only see the clouds thicken. It sure does pass the time working. The man pays you well when you're done with the job. They don't come every year, you know. The old man is sitting at the edge of a rotting old pier, crooked legs dangling over the water. He watches a pair of seagulls preen and groom each other on a rock just off the shore. Just when the fishing is going to be good. He taps great, black, thick globs of spent tobacco out of a huge ceramic pipe. "I got another year, I guess. Another year of this town being here," he replies, letting a grin spread across his face. "If the seagulls came, that means enough fish to keep it in place." You come across a girl picking wild blueberries. She smiles and greets you. "Anin." She offers you some from her birch bark basket. You reach in the basket for blueberries, but pull out a handful of small, smooth stones, all the colors of the rainbow. The snickering girl runs into the trees as fast and light as a rabbit. The stones tumble from your hand and hit the ground, instantly turning black as the night. Your heart leaps in surprise. How strange.